Alright guys, this is a long plane review for Thunderblade on the Amstrad CPC. This is a coin-op conversion, and the coin-op was originally released by Sega in 1987 and not majorly successful, but anyway, here's the deluxe sit-down cabinet, sort of looking like a helicopter there, maybe, and here's the upright cabinet, which is pretty standard, but had a force feedback joystick. Now we're going to take a look at the arcade original, because this is a arcade conversion, so just as a comparison as usual. And yeah, so we're just going to see what it looks like and see how the Amstrad version fares to it. See how accurate it was, what's missing and all that kind of stuff. So this is recorded in MAME, and there are some audio issues recording I can't get round, so you sort of the sound and music sort of echoes and doubles up a little bit, unfortunately, and a few graphical glitches here and there. Otherwise, looks pretty good. Now this was inspired by Afterburner, and it's using the same X-board hardware, and it had you taking into the skies, blasting anything that moved. Here we are on a top-down perspective, but it does change to a third-person perspective, mixing them up. And some of the sprite scaling here, especially in like the buildings and stuff, looks quite impressive. However, the game never really took off in the arcades, with no thanks to the sluggish and awkward controls on that deluxe cabinet. Just fast-forwarding there to the end-of-level boss. And you saw that image of it earlier, sit-down thing styled sort of like a helicopter, but it looked and felt sort of cheaply done, and with the movement of the cab actually mechanically controlled by the joystick. But the stand-up version fared much better with a force feedback stick, and Afterburner cabs could be converted to play it instead, play Thunderblade. But the game also feels maybe rather cheaply done. It's not from the main AM2 team. It's over really quickly, over 4 shortish stages, and there's not much of an ending. So we will just quickly skip through a sample of each of the levels, seeing as there's only 4 of them. Apparently these screenshots were taken from the movie Blue Thunder, which apparently might have inspired this game, but not really seen any official confirmation of that. So yeah, quick sample of the other levels and end of level bosses, because it's quite a short game, as I already mentioned. So yeah, this is stage 3. Going down the river canyon. And the end of level boss is a giant aircraft. And then we go on to the final stage, which is kind of a rerun of the first stage, but at night. But later on, when we go to the third person perspective beyond the plane, a la kind of like Afterburner, it kind of turns into kind of a Star Wars trench run on the Death Star, in a way, in a fashion. So perhaps a little bit of exciting end to the game. However, the final boss is rather disappointing. This sort of giant building structured tower with lots of gun turrets, and as you'll see here, he's actually pretty easy to defeat, apart from getting hit there. Only a couple more things to destroy there, and it's over rather quickly. I didn't find this too hard at all if you're careful. Just sort of keep moving around the screen in circles. You won't. Yeah, you probably. It's a lot easier to not get hit that way and sort of blast through the game. You won't get a very good high score, but that's the ending, and there's not much to it there. So I think that will do for that, and actually let's get on to the Amstrad version now. And check out that sort of box art there, and the things screaming from it like the #1 as seen on TV and the Pepsi Challenge Game of the Year. Well, I know the Pepsi challenge was something that started in the early 80s, I believe, where they blindfolded members of the public and asked them to taste Coca-Cola and Pepsi and then decide which was best. I think Pepsi tended to win because it was slightly sweeter taste, and that's what our taste buds kind of gravitate towards generally. But I can't find out much about this kind of Game of the Year thing from Pepsi, the Pepsi Challenge. Very little on the internet about it. But likely there's a big expensive deal struck between Sega and US Gold and Pepsi. And even I think even the Commodore 64 version has Pepsi logos in the game. But thankfully this Amstrad version, which we are starting up now, doesn't. So loading screen there. And here we are on the title screen. We've got the spinny logo-y thing there. Just going to choose a joystick. And there's a choice there to use keyboard or joystick to control the speed of your helicopter. And that's quite important. Probably best doing it on the keyboard with the joystick. Because it only uses one fire button and the controls can't really be redefined, sadly. So bear that in mind. I'm playing this on an emulator, so I'm using the cursor keys to move around, control to shoot, and I think it is E and D or A and Z to control the speed. On the keyboard. So there you go. So this was released by US Gold a year later in 1988 to masses of hype, as you saw in the box art there. Pepsi Challenge Game of the Year and all that kind of stuff. And it even screams the #1, as you can see, as I've put on the sort of left and right of the game screen. Put a border there just to fill up there, so get the perspective right of the game and fill up the border. Even on the box there, even on the budget release, re-release on the Kicks label, it's got the #1. I don't know who voted this #1 because he didn't get brilliant reviews at the time. Very sort of average reviews to poor. But there you go. The power of marketing and advertising. I'm just letting this title screen play out so you can hear the so-so music. No idea who the musician is, but the programmer is Mark Hay Hutchinson. Some of you will probably have heard of him. Most famous for Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Italy 1990, and Paperboy on the Amstrad. And later, Zombies Ate My Neighbours, Sam & Max Hit the Road, Star Wars Dark Forces, and Metroid Prime, up to the early 2000s. However, Mark sadly passed away from cancer in 2008, which is a real shame. He was a talented programmer, and we're going to see how well he did here. And I think we'll kick things off now. Let's jump into the action. And right, we're off. Wow, okay, what to say? What to start with? It kind of plays like Thunderblade. We have got sprite scaling on the go there. Using the same kind of tiled, kind of stacked sheet kind of method on the buildings as the arcade original did too. Oh, I died already. Graphics colourful but very blocky and messy. Amstrad Action magazine, in its review of the budget re-release, memorably described the graphics as an explosion in a Lego brick factory, which I can't really argue with and still makes me chuckle to this day. It's quite slow and quite choppy, but we have kind of got that 3D kind of scaling on the go there. The top-down sections are probably the best, because now we switch to the third-person perspective and it kind of goes to shit really. This looks like a pixelated mess and you can't tell what you're shooting, who's shooting at you, what's coming towards you. Yes, there's helicopters coming at you in the sky there. and it's kind of hard to make out, and that's a fireball, which hasn't hit me, which probably should have done. Now, I'm going to take my time on this first level, because what I want to do is destroy as many tanks and helicopters and planes as I can, and destroy everything on the end of level boss, and see what kind of bonus score I get. So I think I'm aiming to try and get over 50 hits, and you can see the number of hits in the bottom left there. It says hits 17. Oh, I've just crashed. I don't know what hit me then. I don't think I hit the building though. Presumably I might have done. But it's so hard to make out anything in the third person's perspective here. It might have been better just sticking to the top down perspective throughout the game. And as you can see, when we get past the buildings, things do move a lot smoother and faster. But it's a very valiant programming effort from Mark Hay Hutchinson. I think this is a pretty awkward game to be converting from the arcades. So much going on in the arcade version, even if it was a little bit cheap. But yeah, I'm just going to try and destroy a few more tanks here to try and get my 50 hits and see what bonus I get at the end. In the arcade version, if you get over 50 hits, you get the top bonus of 50,000 points. But okay, so we just had a quick disc load then, and we move on to the end of level boss. Now, use the speed controls to move sort of forward and back. You can only fire your machine guns and not your rockets on this bit, which makes things really tough because the bullets don't travel very fast. You've got to get quite close up to things you need to destroy, which puts you in an awkward position. And I guess kind of the boss battles here are kind of fun, if a little awkward. Oh man, I didn't think that was going to hit me then. I'm not really caring about losing lives. I just want to try and get a good score on this first level. I could probably do this long play without losing a life. It is a pretty short game as well. I mean, this video is over and done with within 30 minutes anyway. And that's with all the added arcade footage and my intro and outro and all that sort of stuff. I don't think I really need to show off. I want to explore the game here and see what happens if I get over 50 hits, and if it makes any difference. Or if I destroy every single gun emplacement and target on this boss. See if there's like an extra bonus for doing so. That section I've just got through there is probably the hardest part of any boss battle in this game, actually. Especially you want to destroy all of them. It's really, really hard to destroy all those gun emplacements. In fact, the only way to do it was to get hit at the start there, lose life, and be temporarily invulnerable, and the guns stop firing for a few seconds as well, allowing me to clear all those things away and blow them up. This bit here, not so hard, but still. Watch those fireballs, don't take any chances, just keep moving left and right, forward and back, in a kind of semicircular fashion. And yes, I've got over 50 hits now, so that's good. That is basically the boss done, and we'll just wait to reach the end, watch it explode and see what score we get. Hmm. 58. Bonus 20,000. In the arcade it was 50,000 or something. I think we'll discover later on in the long play that I think if you get over 30 hits you still get 20,000 points or something. So there you go guys, that was just a little pointless exercise. And we move on to the second level, which really chugs because this ravine canyon thing, the sides of it, because the sides there fill up the rest of the screen, I think, rather than like the buildings that only take up a small section. It makes it chug really, really slowly. This is bad. And a real shame. Oh dear. Things do improve. I don't think we have this sort of bad slowdown on any of the rest of the sections. I think it's just this particular canyon run here. Thankfully, I think things are simplified later on after this. So, but as you can see, guys, it's really not too hard if you just sort of go max speed and keep moving left and right. In fact, everything's so slow here that the enemy's the enemy hasn't a chance to fire at you because the computer is lagging behind so much. So that is a pretty easy section. And for the rest of the game, I'm just going to sort of fly through as quick as possible, get to the end, not care too much. The game is pretty short. So yeah, and you could just keep right on this open section here, just keep flying to the far right, keep going, maybe move back a little bit. Oh yes, one thing I didn't mention is the rockets, firing the rockets, because you've got the machine gun firing the bullets out, and there's also the missiles and rockets that sort of shoot onto the floor. There's not a separate control for that. You just hold down the fire button. Oh, hang on, guys. The vertical sync here got a little screwed up. It just switched over there. That was me going into the Win8 settings and changing the vertical hold value. So that adjusted it right again. What's interesting is the default vertical sync settings on the emulator, which works for every game I've ever played, apart from I think maybe one other. Trying to remember what it is. But on Thunderblade, the screen is like warping around, flashing away. So I had to change it before I even started. That's very strange. I think it's because of the screen is split between the main game area and the status bar at the bottom there. And sometimes it goes wrong in emulation. So there you go. I was talking about firing your missiles. You can't actually fire them on the boss battles, sadly. But when we get back to the main game in the next level, you hold the fire button down, and eventually it should release your rockets. But it's a very awkward system for firing, and for large parts of the time, no rockets are being fired because of the lag in the game and the delay to the CPU or whatever. So that can be quite annoying. I wish there could have been on the menu an option to properly redefine keys and use a second fire button, because by this time, 1988, there were lots of joysticks out there with more than one fire button, and the Amstrad can cope with more than one fire button. I think it's just the Specky that had trouble with more than one fire button, I think. I may be wrong there, but it could have been given the option for a different sort of set of controls, and that would have solved that problem. Although with the lag in this game, it probably would have made a huge amount of difference, and it probably wouldn't have fired when you wanted it to anyway. Oh, bit of lag there in the video, sorry. But there you go, that is the end of the second level and its boss. What do we get there? Hits 37. What bonus do we get? Same again, 20,000 points. Yeah, okay, so it doesn't really matter. You might as well just fly through as quick as you can. So yeah, I'm getting. Oh god, we've got a bit of the canyon there reappearing on this river level. So this is a little slower than the city one, I think, again, but not as bad as that previous level. So there you go, I'm firing the rockets there. I just tend to either hold the fire button down or just keep hammering away on it, and eventually the rockets will fire onto the ground targets. But just keep firing your bullets and hope you hit something. But I'm going full speed here. Shame though, there isn't actually a gauge on the screen that tells you what your current speed is. The Speccy version does have a gauge for your current speed, as does the Commodore 64 version, but not the Amstrad one. Strange that. Oh well, but it's fairly easy to judge. I think you saw me adjusting the speed on the very first level, trying to shoot as many targets as I could. Anyway, the other versions, the Speccy version, we were just talking about that, is the same as the CPC version. It's slightly less choppy, but that's because it's in monochrome, so it's pushing around less colours, and it kind of looks pretty awful. I think it's slightly harder to make out what's going on, actually. According to an interview with the CPC programmer Mark Hutchison that I found, he certainly programmed the entirety of the CPC version, which he confirmed, but he also did parts of the ZX Spectrum version. So the CPC one may, I stress may, have been the lead version and then later converted to the Spectrum, which is certainly possible, or were just developed simultaneously. Mark did the core code for the Speccy version and handed it over to another member of Tiertex to finish it off for the Speccy. Who knows? The C64 version. It has even more basic looking graphics, but it's probably the best version of them all on the 8-bits because of how fast and smooth it plays, and some excellent music throughout as well. Despite its looks, yeah, the Commodore 64 version is probably the one to play. Right, we're going up to final level, and this boss battle here was ridiculously easy compared to the others. Maybe I should start summing up reviews. What's the sound effects like? Actually, okay. It's okay for an 8-bit and Amstrad. We got the rotor sound effects, guns firing, explosions, rockets, and they're not too bad. Little music jingles are pretty good. The title screen music is only okay and pretty repetitive. You're not missing out much there when I was sort of jarring away over the top of it earlier in the video. Graphics range from good to like pretty appalling blocky Lego block type mess. Very colourful. Okay in the overhead sections, but when it comes to the third person perspective behind the chopper sections, you just can't make anything out, and it's just almost unplayable. But it's a very, very brave attempt at converting the arcade original. Just a shame about the lag on the second level. Perhaps we could have done without the canyon size there and done it a different way. And shame about sort of the slowdown generally. And on the fourth level, it's kind of a repeat of the first level. It hasn't changed the colours there tonight, sadly. But yeah, I'd say overall, I will have to give this. I'm going to give this a 6.5 out of 10. Very, very brave, valiant effort from Mark, who, out of anyone at Tiertex who handled Amstrad versions, tended to do the best ones, like Italy 1990. Tiertex were generally a terrible, terrible company who did utterly crap conversions. There has been a lot of effort been put into this, so I kind of been a little bit more generous. But 6.5 is pretty generous though, given how it plays for the most part. Oh, it has changed tonight here on the behind the chopper section, and now we've got red buildings instead of white ones. Yeah, I'm going full speed here. Yeah, I'm not caring about losing lives here, guys. I'm going to do it all on 1 credit anyway. In fact, I don't think there's actually a continue or credits on this. Lose all your lives, it is game over, start from the beginning, actually. Thinking about it. This should be the boss battle now. Yes, it is. Looks very similar to the arcade and is pretty much as easy as the arcade version as well. Slightly less fireballs on the screen though. So taking out the 3 minigun emplacements, take out the big one that appears here now. That tends to fire more bullets, and then the main one on the right there. Oh yeah, we just got hit, so and just kind of go in a circular fashion like this, and the fireballs won't catch up with you. And this should be over fairly quickly. And there we go. That is Thunderblade completed. There's a lot of it. I noticed there's actually quite a few long plays of the Amstrad version of Thunderblade on YouTube. They're a few years old now though. Just goes to show that how popular this game was at the time and how well marketing did, because it isn't a brilliant game. Even the arcade original wasn't brilliant, but yet it's still sold in bucket loads through clever marketing by US Gold. Fair play to them. But obviously people do remember this game quite well on the home computers, because there's tons of long plays, even for the Speccy and Commodore 64 versions, all over YouTube. Less well remembered is the arcade original, I think. Goes to show then, guys, the power of advertising and marketing by those gits at US Gold. I have to hand them credit though, and credit to Mark though, the programmer, who did a decent job on this, the best he could, a brave, valiant attempt, as I've already said. So yeah, guys, that's a 6.5 out of 10 from me. I'll have another Sega arcade conversion long playing review coming up soon, so look out for that. And I'll let you just listen to the music just for sort of 10-20 seconds without me talking. So thanks for watching, guys. See you again soon. Click like, click subscribe, leave a comment, and see you soon. Cheers. Goodbye.
So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please click a like below, leave a comment, and also subscribe if you haven't already. And over that way, there's another video for you to check out. Xyphoe out.